Toda, Mark and IJS, and all of you wonderful holy souls that have carved out some time in your busy morning, afternoon, and evening. It's just my phone. So, wait, excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't know if you can hear that. I hope you're not. Okay, good. Hineni. Let's sit for one moment. Hineni. Let's be present together. We're busy now, many of us all over the world, as people, Jewish people in this tribe, cleaning our homes, beginning to get ready for Pesach. Yes, ridding our homes, removing the chametz, getting ready for the matzah. I am so excited to share with you a beautiful teaching from Rav Kook, who shared this teaching in his introduction to his Haggadah. And it's about freedom, chirut, and its relationship to the bior chametz, to the removal, the burning of the chametz. Let's learn together. These two themes, freedom and the removal of leaven, are emblematic of the festival of redemption, the Chag Pesach, the time Zman Chirutenu. What can we learn, he asks, for posterity, for future generations, from these two interdependent themes? The lesson to be learned is that there are conditions necessary for redemption to take place. First, physical liberation. I mean, thank God most of us today experience physical liberation. Not everyone in the world, though, does. Physical liberation, freedom from any form of servitude that subjugates the divine image in the human being. Freedom from any power that demeans the value of a human being, the glory and the holiness of humankind. When we are physically enslaved, that is tremendously and painfully compromised. This freedom, though, in turn depends on another type of freedom, the freedom of the spirit, of the soul, freedom from all that, from, we would say in IJS, AJS, contemporary mindful practice, all those distractions around us that would divert the soul from its essential path. These two forms of freedom, the physical and the spiritual, come about only with the removal of all that which hampers freedom. This is referred to symbolically as chametz. Now we're moving into the spiritual chametz. Rav Kook brings a teaching from Masechet Brachot in the Talmud. And he takes the quote, Se'or b'shabe'isa, the yeast that's in the dough. So the dough is not the problem because matzah comes from dough. It's the yeast in the dough, this agent that causes dough to rise. Rashi explains that the yeast in the dough refers to the evil inclination in our hearts. It's this inclination, I would suggest that it's not that it inclines us necessarily to commit acts of evil, but it's that suggestion that me matters more than the we. So it gives me permission to disconnect rather than my Yetzer Hatov, which inclines me to connect. And this is symbolized, Rashi said, in the Talmud. This is the chametz. This is the yeast in the dough. So what we need to do, whether it's for the nation as a whole or for the individual person, we need to remove this. We need to remove this egocentric, self-centeredness, fear of survival. Such spiritual leaven is especially destructive at the time when the light of redemption beckons. We must learn, Chavre. We're so accustomed to being in spiritual exile from ourselves, even without doing the spiritual work. We may feel lonely and alone from our own deeper selves and disconnected, as if a part of us is in exile. And Rav Kook believes that we need to learn how to adapt to this, how to adapt to the possibility, to the potential to be more free as we rid ourselves of all those obstacles that are in our way. And then he explains that the difference, what is the difference between, especially when he's writing this in the 20th century, what is the difference between a slave and a free person? It's not just one of social standing, whereby one person is physically enslaved by another and another person is not. It is possible, he believes, to find an educated, meaning an enlightened, an informed, a spiritually alert slave whose spirit is full of freedom. I would suggest if we look back in the 1980s, the whole movement of the Soviet and the Soviet Union, then the Soviet Union, the refuseniks. Many of them, when they came here, and Natan Sharansky, when he first came to Israel and he was interviewed and asked by many times, how did you manage such cruel treatment in isolation and with not the proper food, like the hostages today? Only he was really alone, and he said, "I'll tell you, only my body was in captivity. My soul was already in Jerusalem." See, he was spiritually free. And he said, my soul was already here, just my body had to catch up to it. And conversely, though, Rav Kook points out, there can be a person who has freedom of movement, but whose spirit is servile. What is characteristic of freedom is the exalted soul we have. We possess within each of us the key to unlock this gate of freedom, spiritual freedom, whereby a person or a people is able to be faithful, ne'eman in Hebrew, to be faithful to our inner essence, to the image of God in the midst of us. This fidelity, ne'emanut, allows one to feel that one's life has meaning, is worthwhile, has purpose. The spirit of civility is quite the opposite. The content of one's life does not illuminate one's soul, but rather to the conception of beauty and good of the other. The other, who even in postmodern 21st century, there's the other who rules over a person, whether that rule be official or moral, expectations, political correctness, the marketing schemes to convince us that I really don't want what I think I want that, because that's what's being told to me. And I begin to actually empower that over me, where I begin to lose my own sense of freedom to make a choice for myself. What dominates one's life is that which the other who rules over one finds to be beautiful and good. I think all of us, we have had moments of this. So much pressure, so much peer pressure, societal pressure to live someone else's life. For Rav Kook, that is chametz. That's the Yiscah. That's the Yiscah. That is the leaven, the Sa'or Sheba. And we need to rid ourselves of that to be free so we can be faithful to who we really are as a people and as an individual. He concludes by saying, brothers, I would add, and sisters, all of us, as we sit down to the Seder, let us take cognizance And I would, as I read this and share this ending, this conclusion, I would invite all of you to, when we move into our sit, to visualize this, that he's inviting us, each one of us, to sit down together at the spiritual Seder. Let us take cognizance that we are royalty. Atem banim l'Hashem Elokeichem. It says in the book of Devarim and Deuteronomy, you are children to the eternal, and the eternal is the king of all kings. So we are princes and princesses. Let us not forget we are royalty, created in the image of the divine, a people whose portion is freedom. This is in our natural state. It's not natural for us to be in spiritual exile from ourselves and each other. Israel is not a slave, neither a houseboy, nor a source to have contempt and to be despised. That's not our lot. Let us hold aloft the banner of freedom and the removal of chametz, of leaven. These ideals will come like water in our midst and like oil in our bones as we keep the word of God, the Redeemer of Israel, to guard the matzot. And it's interesting because in the pasuk, in the verse in Exodus 12:17, you can read it to observe the mitzvot or to guard the matzot. Because observing, we think of a legal observance, also means to protect. So by protecting the matzah, we're protecting the mitzvot, which are sources, they're tools, they're points to connect to our Creator with. So keep these two ideals, freedom and the removal, the burning of the chametz, and let us be redeemed soon, all of us as individuals and as a nation. So then we can share this with all of humanity. We can be that light to the nation and inspire other nations, other individuals to claim their own inner fidelity to their true being. This is what we've been created for as a kingdom of priests. So let us first experience it for ourselves, and then we can share it. My dream is to really share it with all of humanity. So it will be, and we will experience the final and complete redemption. It really is time now to be in silence. Let us share 3 cycles of being breathed into and returning the potential to become free. And then move into silence and see what comes up for you in your mind, in your heart. And as we draw our sit to a close, I invite us to bookend as we began. Let us conclude as we share three purifying, beautifying, freedom, freedom, freedom-filled breaths together. Free to be me, the real me. Toda, toda rabba l'kulam.
Buchdahl, thank you so much. Oops, there we go. Thank you so much, Yiscah, as always. Let's seal this beautiful teaching and practice. Those of you who are in mourning, observing a yard site, are invited to recite the mourner's Kaddish, or if you're accustomed to do so. For everyone else, please stay present for a few more minutes to support those who are in mourning. To put the name or names of those you're honoring in the chat now or after you recite Kaddish. Thanks, Harry, for sharing the words on the screen. And if you're joining me, please rise in body or in spirit, and you can unmute. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yamah Divrach Mite, Yamich Machute, Vayekon, Yamechon, Vaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agalah, Yisman Karid, V'imru, Amen.
Amen.
Hey Shemei Rabbah Mevarach,
Shemei
Olam
Rabba
Lamed,
Mevarach Leolam Lomei Amaya
Yivarach, V'yishbuach, V'yishbar, V'yitama, V'yisei, Yitkadar, Yitzalel,
it's Allah
Yitzalal,
Shmei
Shmei
Kedusha
Tekudusha,
Berichu
Berichu,
La'ela
La'ela,
B'Olam
all of your
B'Chashav
hearts, B'Shirata,
V'Nechemasa
Mishpechata, V'Nechemata,
Iran Yama
Da'aran,
B'Ru
Ba'alma, V'Imru,
Hesh
Amen.
Lamarava Ben Shemaya
Yehesh,
B'Chayim Aleinu V'El Kol
Shema,
Yisrael
Chaim, Aleinu,
B'Ru
V'El Kol
Amen
Yisrael,
Des Shalom B'Mromav Hu
Amen.
Ya'aseh Shalom Ya'al Kol Yisrael Ya'al Kol Yoshvei
Alein,
Yisrael
Kol
B'Ru
Yisrael,
Amen.
Kol Yoshvei Teitel, V'Imru,
Amen.
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 Toda Rabbah.
Friends, thanks so much for joining us today. If you're leaving us now, hope you'll join us tomorrow. We'll sit into Shabbat together, chant and learn and sit together with Rabbi Shefa Gold to sit into Shabbat together tomorrow. So we hope you'll join us. Thanks to Harry for holding our space together beautifully as always, and to Yiscah Smith for offering another just beautiful piece of Torah teaching as a foundation for our meditation practice today. And as always, you're welcome to stay on. As I mentioned at the outset, unfortunately, I can only stay on for a few minutes for a conversation with Yiscah, but Yiscah generously is happy to stay on to respond to your questions and your reflections on the teaching today. So I just want to say this, Yiscah, before I leave. First of all, Todalach, as always. Kol hakavod. My takeaway here, it's really, it's, as is often the case, the most beautiful teachings for me are the simplest, simple, in a sense, not so easy to practice or manifest. That Rav Kook's teaching here is that the freedom that we're seeking for Pesach and the chametz that we're trying to rid ourselves of is that which blocks it's a beautiful phrase in Hebrew, or atzmiyut hapanimit, our internal essence. The word just atzmiyut comes from the root etzem, which is bone, really kind of the essence of our being. And so I just love the idea of each of the 200 so souls here sitting and honoring our essence, our inner essence. So I just wanted to underline that. That's my little mental note to take away. And that I guess I'm going to ask you a question, which maybe you can reflect, share reflection on, and I'll have to leave in a minute or so. but feel free to just carry on without me. And that is, this presupposes that we each have a little bit of a kind of spiritual GPS or radar or seismograph or some instrument that can send us a signal when we are not being true to that inner essential quality, when we're not being true to ourselves, right? Do you think that's true? And how do we know when we're off course? And can we discern that by ourselves? Or do we need others to kind of hold up the mirror in that sense? It's a big question.
Well, with all due
Good luck.
respect,
Good luck with that.
it's about 4 questions.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
I can
Well,
stick around
I
for a
mean,
few minutes. I can stick around for a few minutes.
the short answer is that we're up and down. We're always either removing or adding al chametz. It depends on any given day, any given what circumstances we are surrounded by, and how that affects the inner work, and how the inner work affects the external circumstances that we have no control over.
Right.
So there can be days where I'm really in touch. I'm in touch with that deeper part of me, and there's no fear, there's vulnerability, compassion, and then something can happen outside, an external happening, and it shakes that up, it rocks that up.
Yeah.
So I don't think we are human,
Right.
and we're prone to being susceptible to our own humanhood, which involves falling. And as the verse in Psalms so eloquently speaks about the tzaddik that falls 7 times and gets up 7 times.
Yeah.
And as long as we keep getting up and showing up, and as I was discussing with someone earlier today, it really, what's being asked of us here, Mark, and everyone else in this beautiful, beautiful space, we need to trust ourselves and have faith. We need to really, that the process can work.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
I'll
call you up here, and I'm just going to say that you are one of the people who really, I think, models this teaching so beautifully in terms of being able to discern, your real inner essence and who you are and who you're meant to be. And that the other part of this is that the other kind of way of framing the question, right, is who does God wish me to be? Like, why did God put me here, right? And what is the light? What's the Torah? What's the wisdom? What's the gift that only I have to give in this world? And that's a question for everybody here. And that's why it's a beautiful basis for practice today. So I'm going to end that. And thank you, as always. Thank Harry. Thank everyone for being here.
Thank you.
And I'll leave it to you. I know you're all in good hands. Okay. And I'll see everyone tomorrow. Okay.
And Shabbat Shalom. So just to complete the answer to Mark, I have found as a go-to that I would say really works for me, and I would invite you to consider it whenever I'm stuck. The first, I engage 2 different moments. The first moment is I pause. What I do is I don't do. We're so used to doing and reacting. So if I'm feeling I'm running up against some of my inner chametz, not only the week before Pesach, but the week after Pesach, the first thing I do is pause. Move into breath awareness, and then ask my creator, what is being asked of me in this moment? And yes, so I open the room to more questions. I guess I'll just check the chat. If you want to chat in questions, let me see here. Are they going? Oh, someone wants the source sheet. So Harry, can you put it into the chat room again, the source sheet? Oh, so someone wants to know, can you speak, wait, they're going so quickly. Yiscah, can you speak more about what adapting to the possibility of being more free means? What is required of us? Oh, Susan, excellent question. Because I got stuck on that for years. What does it mean to adapt? It means I need to make an adjustment to a new situation that human beings, the PSS and the Rebbe writes this in B'nai Machshava Tova, in the conscious community, we have been created in a way where there's this innate resistance to change. Even if intellectually I surmise, I conclude that this change is good, it's for my well-being, it's to better my life, that I can get up here. But in my heart, to walk into the unknown, I may not be so ready to jump into that deep water yet. I may need a few more swimming lessons, so to speak. That's called adjustment. Moving out of I can't, I won't, I shouldn't, what if, what will they say? Knowing that here it's going to be for my betterment, for my own well-being, to start becoming more faithful to my spiritual center. So the idea of adjusting, it's not to just jump off the high diving board. It's la'at la'at. I like to quote Emily Dickinson in her poetry. I dwell in the realm of possibility. And I invite all of you, what I believe that Rav Kook is suggesting is just begin to open your heart to the possibility. Let's not talk about probability. If we as Jews talked about probability, we would not be here. We're here because of the possibility. Because of the possibility. So it means to sit with ourselves, to really address and honor our fears, and also seek from our Creator and from each other support, encouragement, and connection with people that inspire us, with people that are our loved ones. We really cannot do this work alone. I mean, ultimately, when I go deep, deep inside of me, I need to do it alone. However, moving into the adjustment and moving out of, I'm stuck in my own inner galut, moving into the adjustment, I need to chit chat. I need to be inspired. I need to hear other people's stories, not to be like anyone else, but to be inspired with the possibility. I want to share with you the possibility. If I can do it, you can do it. We can all do this because we've been created to do this. As Rav Kook ended, we were not created to be enslaved, not only by other human beings, but by other human beings' ideas. Okay, so I think there's more that are coming in. I can't help noticing a copy of one of my favorite books. Oh, this is real. Yeah, people always notice that one because that stands out. Yes, yes, yes. I'll tell you, don't ever say that you can't judge a book by its cover. It took me a month working with JPS and University of Nebraska Press to come up with my cover. And whoever helped Rabbi Lou, may he rest in peace, come up with his cover. Yeah. I appreciate Michael Lerner's consent. God is the possibility of possibilities. Beautiful, beautiful. Can you say more about sitting at the Seder as royalty? Yes. So when I look into the mirror of my own identity, just want to check the time. When I see me in my mirror of identity, do I see a free person? Or do I feel that do I sense that I'm seeing a person who's enslaved? And with the freedom, do I see me in terms of dignity, self-respect, a certain posturing? The royalty here means the Mamlechet Kohanim. Do I see me receiving the mandate to be part of a kingdom of priests, to be part of a tribe that's in service to other people? That's how I see royalty. Because really a king ideally is in service to the nation, to the kingdom. The priests, the Kohanim, were in service to the Israelites, and the Israelites were in service to humanity. So for the way I understand royalty, it's to accept with joy and with gratitude the mantle of, I'm here to be in service to something much bigger than myself. And that's what leadership is. That's what kingship or queenship or royalty is in the highest version, not Henry VIII version. Lahavdil, right? I don't know why I'm smiling. I mean, he was so cruel. Do you have suggestions as how to discern what makes up one's own? Yes. Okay. Here, this is a great question. What identifies within my inner work, my spiritual chametz? Well, there are obstacles. For example, I have my own practice. When I do the search for the chametz, the bidikat chametz the night before Pesach, when my children were growing up, it was a whole family event. I mean, they loved it. We would position we had 10 pieces of little chametz and the kids would find it. Here I am living alone now. And a couple of years ago, I realized I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm hiding the chametz from myself to then find it. So what I've done, it's so pertinent to this question. I spend a while, I cut up a piece of paper into 10 little pieces of paper, and I write down 10 obstacles, 10 pieces of spiritual chametz. And I fold them over, jealousy, insecurity, whatever they may be in any given year. And I put them in a little bag. I light my candle, and then I take the first one out. Insecurity. Let me sit with that. Let me honor that place, that piece of chametz that keeps me from really trusting in my creator, that keeps me from being faithful. And I work with it. Say, now I'm ready. I'm ready to say goodbye. I'm ready to remove it. So that's my answer. We all have spiritual chametz. I'm not suggesting that you write down 10 pieces, because that's the tradition that came from the Kabbalah and the Zohar of 10 pieces. It could be one piece. But we need, again, this is part of mindfulness, is to sit down and, well, what is my chametz? What's stopping me from being more vulnerable? What's stopping me from trying to connect to people who I intensely disagree with outside, externally? What's stopping me from wanting to connect with them? What fears do I have? What shame am I holding on to? What grudge am I holding on to? I mean, I know someone who's holding on to a grudge. He just admitted it to me. Like, he's been holding on to it for like years. And I said to him, this is the time to get rid of it. This is a piece of chametz that's huge. It's defining your life, I told him. So that's my answer. All right, I think we have time maybe for, well, we really don't, but you know me, let's say one more. What if the person is evil? Well, we all have the potential to be evil, and there's no human being who doesn't, and some of us make mistakes and activate it, and others move away from it. And those who are evil, I can't, Robin, that's too, I can't answer that question in a minute. It depends what the evil is, how it manifests. Rav Kook did say, though, as much as most of life we need to love, there is a place to hate, and it's evil. I'll leave it at that. There is a place for hatred, and that is evil. But that's another class. That's another time. I want to bless us all as we move into Shabbat Vayikra, that we hear the calling. It says in the first verse, and he called to Moses. It doesn't say who called. Of course, everyone assumes it was God. So I bless you that you hear your calling to remove your inner chametz, so you can sit down as royalty and celebrate your faithfulness to your inner selves, the soul that's within you. Thank you all. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Pesach. Hashem v'sameach. Yes. Let's meet on the other side. Kol Tuv. What a beautiful group. What a beautiful group. Okay.